This is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. So today is a fun day. We are going to make a companion page to our SnowGlobe page. Remember I told you that the SnowGlobe was a single page, and y'all know I don't do single pages, so I had to do another page that would work okay or work well with the SnowGlobe. And so this is what I came up with. It's actually a blog post that I found from several years back, and I think it's going to be very cute. I think you're going to really like it, and I'm excited to bring it to you. So let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, so this is my workspace for today, and we are going to work on, I think I already mentioned this, but we're going to work on creating a companion page to the SnowGlobe, which we did just the other day. Here's the SnowGlobe page we did. And I told you there would be a follow-up to do a companion page for this, because I typically do 2-page layouts. I don't do single-page layouts. So we're going to do a companion page, and I found this layout in the CM blog. This came from October of 2020, and so it's from a few years ago, but I'm going to change it up just a little bit and use different colors that will complement our SnowGlobe. So I think it will work really nicely to go with that layout. So what we're going to use today is the CM circle cutter, and if you don't have the CM circle cutter but you have the templates that I'm going to use, then you will need a pair of scissors for sure, and a pencil, and you'll need these templates. So I'm going to go through all of those in just a second. I have permanent and repositionable adhesive. As always, we'll use both of those, and my mechanical pencil. Let me just move this out of the way for a second. I have the this is the Slice of Life template. This is no longer available on our website. It is sold out, but if you are fortunate and you have this, then you'll want to pull it out. We're going to use it today. If you don't have this, never fear, because I'm going to show you how you can create this same layout without having to use the template. Okay, so if you have this, get it out, use it. It's always good if you have a tool to use it. But if you don't have this, never fear. We are going to do a workaround, okay? I'm also using this Hello Autumn template you may remember from a few years ago. We are going to be using these corner flourishes to draw on this accent that goes around the corners of the layout. So if you don't have this template, that's okay. If you're artsy, you can do it yourself. If you're not, then just come up with your own design. You could just do a corner. Just do it straight, draw straight into the corner. Just use your zero centering ruler. We'll come up with some ideas when we get that far. Okay, but if you have this template, the Hello Autumn template, bring this out as well, and we will use this too today. Okay, so I'm setting that over there. I have a piece of white cardstock, a piece of navy cardstock, a piece of platinum shimmer paper, another piece of the wind paper that I got from the Christmas charm, or no, the Flurry, Fun with Flurries. Flurry of Fun, sorry. The Flurry of Fun collection. That's where the wind paper came from, and it has these beautiful trees on the back, but we're going to use the wind side. And I have a piece of bronze shimmer as well. You'll remember we used bronze shimmer for the mats on the photos and for the base of our snow globe. So we're going to use that for an accent today as well. Okay, so let me just move a couple things out of the way. We're going to get started cutting a couple things. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to start with the navy and the white. I'm just going to set those up there and get them out of the way. I'm going to grab my 12-inch trimmer. We want the white to be our outside base, but we don't need to use the entire page. If we use the entire page, we're just adding extra weight. So we're going to what they call gut the page. And it's just the same thing as making a frame. So we're going to make a 1-inch frame all the way around. So I'm going to start cutting at 1 inch and come down here to 11 inches and stop. Now there is a quicker way to do this. So if you look on my YouTube channel, there is a video that teaches about how to make frames. And you can use some clips as insurance to make sure you don't go too far, which is what I started doing when I first started making frames like this, because I was worried that I would forget what I was doing and cut all the way through, and then I would have to start again, which is a bummer when you're trying to be efficient and not waste paper, right? So all right. I always have this little tiny bit at the top, or at the corner, that I have to kind of release on my own. But there's our outside frame. And I apologize that I am croaking just a little bit today. But I had bronchitis all through November. Now I've caught another cold. I need to just stay well. This is crazy town. Okay, so I'm going to make an 11-inch square with the navy so that I have a 1/2 inch. And actually, let me just double check. You know what? I'm going to do an 11.5 inch square, not a 1/2 inch. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I only have, I want the border to match my other page that it's going to go next to. So I'm going to just take a 1/2 inch off. So 1/2 inch on this side, then we're going to turn it clockwise and do another 1/2 inch off of this side. Those pieces can just go to the side, and then we're going to adhere this to our frame. Alright, so I'm going to grab my permanent adhesive, the strips, and I'm just going to put 5 on each side, 5 little marks of adhesive on each side. I actually was watching Janine Doyle do a video or a tutorial the other day and was amazed at how little adhesive she uses when she does this. I use about a 1/2 inch. She used more like a 1/4 inch in each spot. So that just goes to show how good the CM adhesive is. I don't think that after all these years that I could stop doing the amount that I do. But I just thought I would pass that on to you because this stuff is worth conserving. So anyway, here's our base. Now I'm going to set that just to the side just a little bit, and we are going to grab our, let's see, we're going to make a circle, a couple of circles actually. So I'm going to put my trimmer back away for a second. Going to grab my circle maker and a post-it note. Going to grab my platinum shimmer first. Okay, and if you've never seen the way that I do use my circle cutter, this is a trick I got from advisor Nicole So, and this is the best thing ever if you are going to use the circle cutter. The circle cutter can be your best friend or your worst enemy, and I'm sure those of you who have tried it and not known this trick would agree with me. It is kind of a difficult, I mean, it's easy to plunk down and cut a circle if it's a little circle and you have a big sheet of paper like this. But if you are trying to cut multiple circles or rings or anything like that, then it can be a little bit of a bugger. Unless you know this cool trick. Okay, so I'm finding the center of my paper. I have a post-it note down, so I'm not drawing on the paper I'm going to cut for my page. Finding the center of my paper, it's right there, okay? Now, I drew my lines this way on purpose because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my zero centering ruler, going to measure from the bottom up to 1 1/4 inches, which is this line right here. I'm going to put that 1 1/4 inch line on my midline. Okay, hang on a second. I'm sorry. I'm second guessing everything today because my head is kind of full of garbage. Okay, so my 1 1/4 line is on that center horizontal line, and I'm going to draw another line across the bottom, which is 1 1/4 inch from the midline. Okay, so this is 1 1/4 between those two, and this is the center. Okay, now I do that so that I can easily find the center of this piece of paper again, and also so that when I cut my circle, I'm cutting it right out of the middle, and I can then use the outer edge of this paper as a frame if I want to later. So, because this circle is not going to be edge to edge, this circle is going to be an 11 3/4 inch circle. Sorry, I take that back. This circle is going to be a 10 3/4 inch circle. So what we do is we unscrew this white knob right here so that we can slide our viewfinder right here back and forth. We want that black line in the bubble to line up with 10 3/4 or as close to that as possible. So I am going to line it up at, let's see, there's half. So just before the last mark, there's 3 marks in between each of the inch numbers. Why they did it this way, I don't know, but we just have to learn to work with it. So 3/4 is going to be just shy of the last mark before the inch mark. I hope that makes sense. And I'm going to tighten that down by turning it clockwise. Okay. Then I'm going to take the front of my trimmer, or the front of my circle cutter, and I'm going to line it up on this line, the lower line that's marked 1 1/4 inch from everywhere, or from the center. So I'm lining the black line on the bubble up with my vertical center line, lining the front of my circle cutter up with that 1 1/4 inch drop down line. I'm going to push down on the blue knob and squeeze the white knob in and push down on this little blue knob as I turn it around. Okay. Now I can save this piece and use it as a frame in another layout someday. Okay, so now I've got the base of my circle, or the green paper that you see on here. I have that represented by the silver. Okay, I'm going to leave this on here just for the sake of leaving it on there, just for now. Okay, Now we're going to take our wind paper and we're cutting a smaller circle. This one is going to be a 10 1/4 inch circle. Again, I'm going to cut this out of the middle so that I can use that outside bit of paper. Okay, so if you didn't catch it the first time, I'm going to find the center of the paper using my Post-it note. I'm using the grid lines on my desk to help me guide my ruler. There's my vertical center here. Here's my horizontal center. Okay, then I'm going to bring this up again and find that 1 1/4 mark. Sorry, I have to kind of get in the way here just a bit. Just a minute. My lights make a shadow onto my paper, and then I'm not sure if I lined up the line or if I lined it up with a shadow. Crazy. Okay. Now we're going to cut this or move this down so that it's at 10 1/4. So 10 1/4 is going to be just to the right of the first mark after the 10. Okay, so that's going to be 10 1/4. And we're going to line that up. We're cutting the outside ring, or the outside of our ring. If you have the template, you don't have to worry with the circle cutter. If you don't have the template, then the circle cutter is going to be your best bet to do this layout, or some other means of cutting a really nice, perfect circle. And one that's slightly smaller, okay? But if you have the template, you can see that this circle should be, all right, so it's a little bit smaller than what I thought I was making, but that's okay. It'll work. You're cutting this outer ring right now. That's what we're working on, okay? So if you have the template, that's what you'll want to trace. Your wind paper should be this outside, these outside circle pieces. And the way they do it in this is they cut 1/4 of the circle at a time. So you'll want to trace each of these, and then when you remove your template, you'll connect the lines between these two and make this all, make this quarter all one piece. Make this quarter all one piece. Make this quarter all one piece, and this quarter all one piece. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. We're doing ours a little different, obviously, especially since I now need to adjust this. So we're going to move this down to 8. Well, let's just check it out on here and make sure we have a decent. Okay, so I like the way that works together. And that probably does fill that. Let's check and see how that lines up with the template. I think that will line up better. See, it's actually pretty close. Pretty close. So you probably could cut right on that last line instead of going just shy of the last line before 11. You probably could put it right on the line for 11, and you would be perfect for the platinums. I would make the blue just a little bit bigger, the wind paper just a little bit wider as well. and it would be just fine. All right. Let's see. Now, what we need to do now is we need to cut this into a ring, okay? So to do that, we need to move our pivot point, which is what this controls. We're going to move our pivot point to 8.5. So I'm moving this down here to 8.5, which is right in between the two center marks. Okay, tightening up my bubble so it won't move around. I'm going to replace this on my Post-it note, lining up the front with that lower horizontal line and the vertical line here with my vertical line on my Post-it note. Pressing down my pivot foot and squeezing and cutting as I go around with the blade on the outside. Okay, now there is our ring. The ring that's represented by the hat paper on this is what this is. Okay, so we're saving this to fight another day, as it were. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this ring. So I'm going to grab my trimmer again, and we're going to find the center. And if you don't already know this, your CM trimmer is fantastic in that all you have to do is take a circle and lean it onto the 2 points on the shoulders, either at the bottom or at the top, and you can cut your circle directly in half. Okay, doesn't matter what size the circle is, it will work to cut your circle in half. So I'm cutting my circle in half. Okay, now I'm going to stack my 2 halves, and I need to find the middle, so let's measure this so that we can find a measurement for the middle. So I'm going to put this at 10 inches. So that I can find so this is 10.25 inches wide, which is what we wanted. We wanted a 10.25 inch circle, so that's perfect. And the center point is going to be 5 1/8. Okay, so now I'm going to take my 2 pieces, and you know what, I'm going to put just a little bit of repositionable adhesive on the back so that this stays together, because it's very slippery and I'm already having to adjust it. So we're just going to do like so. Now if you're a little off center, you see I have just a little bit extra. I don't know how good the camera is at picking it up, but I am just a little beyond on the piece on the bottom. That's okay, because we're going to trim the edge, so never fear if you're slightly off, it is okay. So we need to find the center of this, and we need to get our, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put the edge, this outside edge, at 5 1/8. And then make my flat edge there flat up against the shoulder. Okay, that's going to cut my arch directly in half. Okay, then I can stack those. And let me find where that end was that I need to trim just a little bit. It's over here. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to put just a little bit of adhesive on the back of those 2, line this up and stack them again. Okay, now we're going to come in here and we're just going to take we're going to take 1/4 of an inch off. Okay, so we're going to take 1/4 of an inch by lining up the edge with the edge of our cutting mat, the gray cutting strip. That is 1/4 of an inch from the right side of that is 1/4 of an inch from our cutting line. So we're just going to cut 1/4 of an inch off there. That's all we're going to trim, but we need to trim just a little bit so that we have a break in between our sections. All right. Okay, now we're going to take each of these sections, and I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive so that if I need to move it, I can, and I don't have to stress about it. Okay, I'm going to put this about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of my circle. Try to be as consistent as possible with this. Okay, I'm going to take another piece. I'm going to give it that quarter of an inch. Okay, and going to again give it 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Same thing here. The proof in the pudding will be whether this last piece goes in as smoothly as those others. So here is this one. Ah, look at that gap. We need to give it more of a gap. More of a gap in between. All right, so where's my all-purpose tool? Here it is. Maybe we need to give it more of a gap around the outer edge too, because we had more like 1/4 of an inch around the outside edge. So maybe that would help even more. I think I forgot that when I laid it out on top that there was 1/4 of an inch around that edge. I think these need to be a little closer together. So you can see why the repositionable adhesive works so nicely and is so helpful in a layout like this, because it is a little bit of trial and error, right? wide with some of these. I'm going to play with it until it looks right. So I'm sorry if I'm a little tedious. And if you don't want to worry about all this, then you don't have to cut the gaps in between. You could just put the whole ring on and you would probably be just fine. All right, this is looking good. I'm just going to adjust this one over just a tiny bit so that it's even. And I think we'll be in business, as it were. Yeah, much better. All right. Ta-da! Okay. So there are our rings. Now we need a centerpiece, and our centerpiece is going to be made using the bronze shimmer. The bronze shimmer, and we're going to use the largest circle that we have in the circle templates for the custom cutting system, and we're going to use the blue blade. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this over kind of into the corner. And because I know the blue blade is going to cut away from that edge a sufficient amount, I'm going to move my template to the corner so I can conserve some paper that way. Alright, so there's my center. Okay, we're going to remove our post-it. And stick that back in there. Alright, so this one is going to go right in the middle. And let's grab a ruler, because I can hear my husband saying, "Don't you just stick that down. You need to measure." So I'm going to try to do him proud and measure. All right, so let's see. Do you remember how we said the middle of the circle? Because the circle is 10. I take it back. This platinum shimmer circle is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 3/4, just about 10 and 3/4. And so this 0 in the middle needs to be at 5. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 3/8 or so. So I'm going to move my zero centering ruler up so that my 0 line is going right through the middle of my gap right here. And my edge of my ruler is going right through the center gap between these two. My 0 is right through the center gap of those two. And now I can take this circle, which is almost 3 inches wide, and I can put it just shy of 1.5 inches in, which is right on the numbers, right where the numbers are. And I'm going to place it just before that line, and I should be reasonably centered there. Okay, so there's my center. Now, to do my photos that go around this, let's take a quick measure. Okay, we're going to want a little bit of a gap between the photo and our ring that goes around the outside. So I'm going to say we want a ring that is let's see, 8¼ inches. So we want a circle that's going to be 8¼ inches to be our, hold on a second here. I'm going to make myself a template for my photos. Okay, so I want an 8¼ inch template. When we made our 8¼ inches before, we put our line just beyond 8 and then the first mark after the 8, and that gave us 8¼ . Okay. I'm going to just check and make sure that my circle cutter is not going to cut off my paper. And I'm going to just cut a ring from that the extra square of white cardstock that I had. You can do this with any kind of scratch paper you have, and it will be just fine. You just want, why did it not cut there? Well, that's kind of crazy. And I can't put it back because I didn't take the time to do my post-it note trick. So, or Nicole's post-it note trick. So that's my bad. So now I get to cut it. But that's okay. Just test my accuracy with my scissors. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I cannot see where I need to cut. Okay, there we go. So let me find a couple of extra photos and we'll just practice using some extra photos that I have. Oh, hold on, these are of my little friends. I don't want to use pictures of my little friends online. The little guys that I babysit. So 1, 2, we'll do 3. All right. So let's find the middle of our circle. We are going to line this guy up. I'm going to look at this line on my mat and find the middle. Just visualizing it to find the middle. All right, I think that's pretty good. This is all because we don't have the template. If you have the template, then you can just trace your photos that you want to put in and cut them according to how you've traced them, and you'll be golden. But for those who don't have the template, this is another way that you can manage this, okay? So these are the center marks I wrote on my circle, okay? I don't want my photo to go right on the center mark. I want it to go just off the center mark. You can see like that. Okay, so I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive. I'm going to just stick my photo down how I want it. Not on the line, but just off the line. Okay, just making sure my adhesive's not showing. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my other photos. I'm going to lay them right on here. Make them the same distance away from the center lines so that I have a nice margin. Okay. Same thing here. I'm going to line my photo up with the photo above it so that I have a nice margin in there. Okay, so just like that. Now, we know that that's the center, so since we know that that's the center, we can come back in here with our zero centering ruler, and we can go ahead and mark 1.25 inches, because we know that's what we need for we know that's what we need in order to line up our circle cutter in the right place. Okay, so I'm going to line up my circle cutter front right on that line and line up the bubble line with my vertical line. Okay, now I'm going to hold this down and I'm going to cut around. It's going to cut my photos right where I want them. My thing shifted, so that's my bad. You have to hold it very, very still. And mine shifted a little. Okay, so now we've got our photos. These photos. And we need to be able to put them in here. Now let's see. This circle was 3 inches. So we need to cut the center of this out, and it needs to be beyond 3 inches. So let's undo this, slide it up here. We're going to do 3.2, so the second mark beyond 3 inches, and that's going to give us a little bit of a border around our center. So let's go ahead and line this cutter back up with our 1.25 inch line in front of the midline, and this line right in line with our center. Okay, now we're going to cut through. When you cut anything that's 3 inches or thereabouts with this trimmer, it is a little bit tedious because your fingers kind of run into each other, so it's a little bit of a thing. Alright, so then that drops out and we can toss that in the trash. And we can then take our photos and we can line them up. Oh. Okay, so I need to trim just a little bit off of that because it doesn't line up with my gaps. I want it to line up with my gaps. So I'm just going to take about 1/8 inch off of one of the ends so that my photo will line up. I'll probably need to do that with all 3 of these. So actually, to make it so that it lines up better, we should take just a 1/16 off of each side, and that will be better. If you recognize these photos, these are from our visit to Yellowstone earlier this year. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Just take about a 1/16 off of each side. All right, that's a little bit wonky, so maybe I'll take a little more off of this one. See if that works better. Much better. Okay. All right, so now we have this area over here that we can use to journal, and we are ready to do the more decorative things on our base. So let me just move a couple of these tools out of the way so that we can do that. Okay, so you'll notice that they've got a photo in here in the center as well, which we could certainly do. The size photo that you would need for in there is a roughly 2 3/4 or 2.5 to 2 3/4 of an inch circle, and that circle, let's figure it out, shall we, so that you know. So you know what to use and what will fit there nicely. Okay, so these are all the templates that I have made using my custom cutting system, because I don't know what happened, but somewhere, if you've heard my story, my sad story before, somewhere in our military moves, I lost my clear template that came with my custom cutting system. So this one will work. This is a 2 3/8. This uses the medium-sized circle template in the middle with a red blade, and that one would certainly work. Or we could use, let's go to the next size up and see if that's, I think this is the exact size of our circle though, so that's not going to work. Yeah, that's the size of our circle. So that would be the size photo you would need for the middle there. Let's see if I have another picture we could just use real quick. Here, let's use this one. So the medium circle with the red blade, and I'm just going to get a little bit of the trees in there, a little bit of that nice can't remember whether this was not a geyser, so it's called a hot spring, I think. I don't remember the name of that particular one, but little tiny die beside me. Okay, so this one will go right in the middle. So if you are like me and you threw away your guiding plastic that came with your templates, just make yourself some. It's not hard. It's actually kind of fun. All right, so here is our circle. We are done with that. All right, so this is going to go on here, just like that. Keep in mind, we did make our navy base just a little bit wider than you would, than we would have in the sample here, and that was to match the base of our snow globe. Okay, so so that is really okay. What I need, and what I didn't pull out ahead of time, is my white pen. So bear with me a second here. So for this, I am going to use my template because I really like the design that they did. But you don't have to use a template if you don't have one. Just, like I said, just draw a straight line. That would be fine. But if you have your Hello Autumn template, place it right over the top. I'm going to use a white pen. Okay, and this pen has archival ink, it's pigment ink, and I got it off of Amazon. It's made by Baoke, B-A-O-K-E, and it says it's a highlighter, but I like it. It does a good job. Or I also use the Jelly Roll white pens. I get these a lot at my local big craft store, and they work just fine too, especially if you're not journaling. But if I'm journaling, I have used these to journal. I would rather use this one because I feel like I trust it more to not fade. Okay, because whenever you journal, you want to make sure you're using archival quality ink. Okay, so I'm going to take this pen and I'm just going to follow the design. And you'll notice that the design on the template is wider than your pen. So I just try to kind of color in a little bit maybe as I go. If your template is shifting, you could try adhering it down to your page, putting a little repositionable adhesive on back. Won't hurt anything. This is a ballpoint pen, so I'm going to try so that it leaves less straight lines in the ink that it's putting down. I'm making tiny little circles with the pen inside the lines of the template. These pens, the white pens, I've noticed they seem to do better the longer you use them. The more you get the ink flowing, the better they function, which is nice. This piece. And again, if you have stroke marks from the ball in the pen, then just change it up a little bit. Take shorter strokes with your pen, or do circles or something like that. All right. The point is, you need to hold your template still the whole time you're using it, okay? And you want to make sure that the ink is dry before you lay your template back down to do the next corner. So I'm not going to keep you here for to watch me do all of them, because I want to make sure that that dries first. But ours is going to look like this, so we're not going to have the overlap. There is the possibility that we could add this longer line in so that it goes straight across, and I may do that. We'll see. We'll have to see. Of course, you have already seen the thumbnail, so you know what the final product looks like. I don't yet, so we'll have to wait and see, but I may do that. All right, so we need some embellishments on here. Any winter embellishments would be just fine to add as well. So Flurry of Fun, which is the name of the paper that we used here, came with 4 different embellishment packs. Very cool stuff. So just sort of depended on what you were interested in. It just depended on which activities you enjoyed. So there was an ice fishing pack. We don't do a lot of ice fishing here in Utah, or at least I don't. There is a sledding embellishment pack, which sounded fun. There's snowmobile embellishments. There are just typical fun in the snow kind of embellishing. So I'm going to grab a couple of these just from the snowstorm embellishment pack. I've used a couple of these already on other things, but I think these would be cute. So we could do winter and kind of add our trees behind it and cover up a little bit of the photo, but not so much of the photo. Or we could move the trees down just a little so they're not covering up as much of the photo, like so. And we could do winter. We could do snowed in down here. That. And maybe the thermometer with the shovels up here. I think that's cute. To embellish that. Mind you, I still am going to do this in all of the corners. So not a lot of embellishing needed on a single page like this. You could probably get away with just doing 2 or maybe even just 1, since we're going to have a decoration in each of the corners. That's what it looks like when you fill it up with the embellishments that are recommended in the blog instructions. You can see they've got embellishments here, here, and here, and then journaling here. And they actually cut a separate piece of paper to go in this section, which you definitely could do. I did not do that, but you definitely could do that. And then just do your journaling on that. Or you can just write in the section on the base paper. Depends on what you used for your base paper, I assume. So let me know what you think about this. I think this is a fun layout. I think it's a cute companion to our snow globe. Here's our snow globe. I think those would be really cute in an album together. And I might even go back and add these white corners in on at least on the upper corners for the snow globe, just so that they kind of go together better. Let me know what you think. I'm always curious about what your thoughts are and if you would change anything. Thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments, and we'll see you in a couple days for another Christmas, 12 Days of Christmas holiday layout. Merry Christmas.